The Anti-Corruption Commission, President Koroma opened up State House, opened up office of the Vice President, and they raided those offices. They searched all the computers, took materials away. You cannot do more than that. And then he hands over the issue to the Anti-Corruption Commission, which is in charge, and says to them, leave no sacred cow. Go after everybody. If I can open State House, if I can open office of the Vice President, no sacred cow. I don't think he could have done more than that.
So now let's come to the transition properly, the handing over notes. It could be recalled that President Ernest Bai Koroma, former, visited State House on the eve of inauguration and handed over notes to the current president, Julius Maada Bio. Yeah. It's a 36-page document that was released last night at midnight exactly to the public. And it is now being widely debated. So how would you describe in general the handing over notes of President Ernest Bai Koroma? Because I have seen analysts even calling it a fraudulent handing over notes that does not reflect the reality of President Koroma's legacy.
Well, when you live in a democratic state, in a democratic nation, in fact, one of the points that is in the handing over notes, between page 6 to page 7 of the handing over notes, is the president highlighting his legacy of tolerance to criticism. And the reason why he was able to tolerate criticism is because he's a democratic leader. And in a democratic dispensation, you expect to be criticized. So there's no way we expected to release these handing over notes and not have someone critique it. But what I would say about these notes is that these notes are going to stand the test of time. These notes are going to last into history. And those who are criticizing these notes are going to be the ones who would fall into the dustbin of history. Because what we have here in these notes, anybody with a conscience who reads these notes, even in the notes, you can see the former president praising his successor in the notes for leaving his PhD studies in London and coming to help Sierra Leone to end Ebola. You can see, I cannot imagine any statesmanship bigger than that one, to remember and remind the rest of Sierra Leone that, in case you have forgotten, when we were fighting Ebola, your new president left his PhD studies to come to Sierra Leone and help us to fight it. Don't forget, it's in the handing over notes. So I think it's a note that's going to last the test of time. Even though it appears more political than reflecting on his actual legacy? I think, I don't agree with you on that. It actually reflects on it, and it provides so much guidance, so much steps, which if the new president takes an open mind to read this document, he would be well guided as to how he can lead the rest of us in Sierra Leone for the rest of his tenure. I wouldn't call it political.
Because again, if you go through the general content of that handing over note, someone will say, well, if this is the reality that President Ernest Bai Koroma left behind for Mr. Julius Maada Bio, I think Mr. Maada Bio, his SLPP people, and the general Sierra Leoneans should be celebrating by now that, well, President Koroma at least left the country in the brink of takeoff amid all of the challenges that surmounted his tenure.
I would not say brink of takeoff. We have already taken off. We are on the way. We are on a solid path to achieving our aspirations for the year 2030, which is a stable social and economic life, and a country that has middle income status by 2030. We've taken off long ago, and we got paused, we got buffeted by the Ebola and the iron ore shocks. But then we stabilized the flight and we continued our journey. I think we are on course.
But the new government does not seem happy with what they inherited.
They are playing politics. The new government is playing politics. You see, when you're in a democracy, then you have to use, you don't use the bullets anymore to retain and sustain power. What you use is your mouth. What you use is your public relations. So the new government, they know they cannot use bullets, they cannot use force. So what they are using is propaganda. And but the truth of the matter is that the new government knows that they have inherited a solid systems that have been put in place by President Koroma, including the fact that we now have the most transparent government since colonial days. We have not had a government as transparent as the one left by President Ernest Bai Koroma. The new government knows that. The new government knows that in terms of accountability, the audit service, the Anti-Corruption Commission, we have left structures in place that are unprecedented, the way we have strengthened like the audit service, for example. So the new government knows that we had economic challenges, but despite the economic challenges, at no point in time did we have a high risk of debt distress, meaning that at no point in time did our debts that we took to develop Sierra Leone and to sustain us when we were buffered, at no point in time did we reach what, because you have different levels of debt distress.
But his team left behind lots of debts in the billions of leones.
Dollars, in fact.
Dollars.
I'm going to quote His Excellency Dr. Julius Maada Bio. I respect him, and so I'm going to quote what he said. He said $2 billion, which is the smallest debt for any of the countries in the sub-region. $2 billion is small. I mean, American government has trillions and trillions of debt. There's no country in the world. Well, maybe Libya under the late Gaddafi did not have debts. But there's no country in the world, Fonty, that does not have debts. And even though we have debts, you can see the development strides. These handing over notes, I have a friend of mine who is an ardent supporter of the SLPP. He called me this morning after he finished reading these notes. And he was saying to me the breadth of the developmental strides. For example, let's take electricity. Magboroka had electricity restored in, because you see, this electricity is not just Freetown. A lot of people just think it's Freetown and the western area. It's been a nationwide explosion of electricity connectivity. Magboroka after 33 years, Potloko after 32 years, Kono after 32 years, places like Sheikh Brema, like Makale, like Panguma, like Binti, Konakridi. These are far-flung places who never had electricity. Now they have electricity.
We're talking about electricity, Dr. Blyden, with all the massive, whatever President Koroma former noted in his handing over note that he inherited some 47 million kilowatt hours of electricity, and he left behind 350 million kilowatt hours of electricity. Is that not one of the reasons why people would think these statements are more political than the reality? Because it would seem people voted out President Koroma's APC government, but it would also seem that they indirectly also voted out electricity, because the day President Ernest Bai Koroma left power, electricity left. We're now struggling to revive electricity, as it's been said by the new government.
You see what happened, one of the mistakes that the new government made, I can say this easily on camera, one of the mistakes that His Excellency President Julius Maada Bio made was sitting back and allowing these thugs, brutes, to chase people in this country after he took up office. So he's got everybody scared, and a lot of people ran away. So when people run, they go with the knowledge that they had as to how to make things happen. So if he had only within 24 hours to 48 hours of these menace, these thugs, these brutes running behind people, like a colleague minister of mine, they looted his entire house. If only His Excellency had stopped them, then a lot of people would have been comfortable to stay and help in the transition period. And when they would have stayed and helped in the transition period, they would have been able to guide and advise on this electricity aspect. It is not that when President Koroma left, electricity left. What happened was, when the change of power happened, there was this huge vacuum. They didn't know what to do. I can personally say it here today that a member of the transition team was on social media, and he contacted me privately because I was doing this, I was mocking them with this Kaba Tiger, Bio Tiger. We had these generators and we were mocking them on social media that, oh, now you have brought back Kaba Tiger. So he sent me a private message. He said, oh, Dr. Blyden, you people are mocking us now because you are the same one, you have put off ADAX, you have done this. I said, no. The reason why you're having this problem, you have not done a proper transition. So then I asked them, I contacted the former Minister of Energy. He was actually leaving hospital in Nigeria at the time, and I said to him, please, Henry, help these people out. They don't have a clue as to what is happening. Whatever it takes, give them, let them understand the subsidies that have to be put in place to ensure this electricity. Because you see, we didn't just provide electricity. We provided the electricity so that the poorest person can have access to electricity. And by having access to electricity, his child can study and become a future doctor or future lawyer. By having access to electricity, he can grow his economic and social life. So we had to be subsidizing electricity also. So I had to connect Henry with them, and he immediately was willing. He connected with them and gave them some advice, gave them some tips as to what they were doing wrong. And we noticed the difference. I think with time, now that the transition has settled down, I think the electricity issue is going to settle down.
There is a saying, evil runneth even when no one pursueth. So is it possible that some of these people that you were saying were chased, were merely running from their shadows, that we've done this country so much harm to an extent that now we have a new government, we're going to jail, we're going to be killed?
No, most of them have come back now that the place is stable. So it's not a matter
because
of...
you were part of that government and you never left. You had been here all this while.
I am a very brave and courageous person, but honestly, it took guts. When you start seeing that, I think they had one, they said Abravo, another one called Arata, another one called... They had names for these people. And they said they had teams, they had cliques, they had gangs. People were scared. People ran away from this country out of fear. Because you saw these people, you saw them with vehicles without doors, sprayed. It was a fearful sight. So I don't think my colleagues ran away. Most of them are back. And this is Sierra Leone, this is our home.
So if President Koroma is the best president ever in Sierra Leone, as even contained in his handing
No,
over...
he didn't say he was the best. He's a very humble person.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying...
I am the one saying...
Yes, well, what I'm saying, the content of his handing over notes, if you go over it, you will want to agree that this is the best president ever. So if he is that person that is portrayed in this handing over notes, how come his APC-led government was booted out so disgracefully? In fact, some people will say they beat APC tooth.
You see, the word disgracefully is a relative term. If somebody loses elections under very questionable and dubious conditions, as I sit here, and maybe let me use this opportunity to tell the rest of the public that as I sit here today, the Chief Electoral Commissioner of the National Electoral Commission, Mr. Umfa Ali Conte, has not yet given us the results of our elections. What he has given us are numbers. But our results by polling station that he promised he would give to us, if you look at his statement on April 4th, he said, I will upload the results by polling station on the website. It is now over 40 days since April 4. I have personally been asking these people, and that's why I'm at the Supreme Court. Those election results, we still don't have them. And I hope he would be able to finger the numbers and do what he has to do and give us our results. So I would not say the APC lost disgracefully. What I would say that the APC made a series
Well, for an incumbent government to lost two times, twice.
But what do you mean twice? You mean the first round and the second round?
And the second round.
Well, you see, the APC made a series of blunders, and one of them was not doing proper oversight of the National Electoral Commission, not doing proper oversight of the voter registration exercise, not doing proper oversight of what they gave us as the voter register. If the APC had done proper oversight of these issues, I don't believe we would be in the situation where we are today. Because, as I said, we still don't have results. NEC and Umfa Ali Conte has not given us results. What he has given us, he just gave us numbers. Oh, Potloko, these are the numbers. Cambia, these are the numbers. Bo, these are the numbers. Where are the polling station breakdown? Because the law says you have to give me the results by polling station. And then I total these results and I get a grand total. He's not been able to give us because the elections and the tallying and the counting process were very dubious. very, very doubtful, and those results he announced are subject to a lot of doubt, which is why we are at the Supreme Court. So I would not say the APC lost the elections twice. I would say the APC lost the chance to do proper oversight of the National Electoral Commission.
Now let us talk about the controversy surrounding, is it a failure of the former president to actually deliver his handing over notes by words, especially at the inauguration ceremony at the National Stadium? What went wrong? Why did President Ernest Bai Koroma fail to talk to the people of this country at the National Stadium?
The answer is simple. President Koroma did not organize the program. The organizers did not want him to talk. They made no allowance for him to talk. And you can even see the extent to which they did not want him to talk. They only put on the program, hand over what we call the baton, the staff of office, hand it over. That's the only thing they put in the program.
Which could indirectly,
they did not even,
which could indirectly even telling him that you can make a handover speech.
Well, let me learn. That's the point I'm coming to. They did not even mention his name, like you would say, transfer of power or transfer of staff from the former president, Dr. Ernest Bai Koroma, to His Excellency, Dr. Julius Maada Bio. It wasn't even in the program. It wasn't even recognized on the entirety of the program. But worst of all, if you look keenly at the clip, the video clip, when President Koroma is giving the staff of office to President Koroma, he didn't just give him and move on. He held on to it for several minutes, speaking to the new president, addressing him. At that point in time, if we had organizers who were genuine, they would have taken the microphone and put it so that the whole world could hear what President Koroma was saying. But the fact remains he was blocked. They didn't want him to speak. And we respect that. They are the ones in authority. They organized the program. Even to put a microphone at the point when he was, just watch the video. And you can see President Koroma is addressing His Excellency President Julius Maada Bio before he gives him the...
But again, if the former president actually wanted to talk to the public, he could have requested a mic, someone will say.
Why would you want to create an embarrassment where people don't want you to speak? They don't want you to speak. Why would you start saying, oh, I want a mic? And they say, no, no mic for you, go sit down.
But again, who does not want him to speak? Was he contacted ahead of the inauguration that, gentleman, you are ex, so you're not going to speak?
Definitely.
Who contacted him?
Well, I think the organizers, because I was actually there when he received the phone call, that, oh, there is no space for you to speak on the program. So us...
And maybe that is not even to the attention of Mr. Julius Maada Bio.
No, I haven't blamed
President Koroma in
Excellency.
Speaking terms with Mr. Julius Maada Bio. He could have called him that your men are calling me that I should not speak. Does this have your blessing? Did he do that? Or the Otuna Jamsi?
I don't think I would refer to them as Jamsi. And I would like to respectfully avoid that to answer that question. Being that I will not want, you see, power is a very delicate something. And we used to have a president, he was called Ernest Bai Koroma. We now have a president, he's called Julius Maada Bio, His Excellency. And what we should be doing as citizens is anything that will get these two gentlemen to serve Sierra Leone in their capacities as current president and former president. Whatever we can do to smoothing things, I think that's what we should focus on. So I want to respectfully avoid going into that aspect.
But again, maybe it is not the norm for ex-presidents to give handing over statements, especially on Inauguration Day, for fear of them not stealing the show. It is not their day. It is inauguration of the current president. So what if it is on that ground that President Koroma wasn't allowed to speak? Is President Koroma actually bitter? That's the question.
No.
Is he bitter that he was not allowed to speak?
No. That one I can authoritatively tell you. President Koroma right now is probably the most relaxed politician as of now that you can think of.
Or maybe he's reflecting on the fact that it is what I did to former President Kaba that Mr. Julius Maada Bio did to me.
As I said, I think what we should be doing is getting the two gentlemen to have a smooth coexistence. Who knows? There might be. I think I even watched His Excellency President Bio saying that he might pick up the phone and call President Koroma if he finds himself in a situation similar to some conundrum that President Koroma might have faced in the past. So I think our duty is not to speculate on Pakaba, Pakoroma, Pabio. I think let's.
But again, let's go into even the handing over notes proper.
Yeah,
Sierra Leoneans, with all due respect, we are not known for the culture of reading. So in as much as we are hearing that some 10,000 or over that are going to be printed of the handing over notes and distributed across the country, you will still face the risk of people still not knowing whatever President Ernest Bai Koroma is leaving behind. So is the president, former, going to look at other options, like coming to AYV, read out his statement? There are several platforms. Or calling a press conference, read out his 36-page statement, so it can be recorded. Is he considering that?
No. I don't think he would. You see, what we have ahead of us as a party, the All People's Congress, is a marathon. It's not a sprint. You see, in athletics, you have what's called a sprint. This is the 100-meter race, the 200-meter race. You run fast. And then you have the marathon. This is the one you have. It's a long 5-kilometer, 10-kilometer, a very long journey. And if you handle your position now as opposition as a sprint and not as a marathon, you would just lose all your energies right at the beginning, and by the time it gets to the time you really need your energy, now it's gone. These documents, this handing over notes, it's a historic document. We are going to use it, and we are going to make sure...
For political purposes in the future?
We are politicians. We are politicians. Politicians use things for political purposes. So we are politicians, and I think people would expect that.
So will you now agree that this statement was more for political purposes than for him to talk about his legacy? Because I wouldn't imagine a president that would want his legacy to be kept on the shelves without nobody knowing what is even in there.
Well, as I said, let me land. It's a marathon. So we have a long journey ahead of us. And at several points in the journey, we are going to be bringing out issues. The president coming to record a 36-page document, 36-page speech, and people listening to it, it will just be one-off, like a sprint. That's it. This is a marathon, and we are going to be having issues that will be coming up. For example, just as I was coming to the studios, I received word that the power ship from Turkey that we were so condemned for, that we have brought this ship $45 million. It's bad, it's bad. And it was even used to campaign. I'm just hearing word, it's not yet confirmed, but I'm hearing word that we might end up be using the ship afterward. And when issues like this will come up, there will be reference points. So for the next 5 years, this document is going to be alive. It's not going to just go on the shelf and get dust on it. This is a living document. It's alive. And we are going to use it. We are going to highlight what is in it. We are going to challenge at any point in time that our legacy seems to be under threat. We would reference the document. And not only, you see, the start of the handing over notes actually says to His Excellency President Madabio that you might want to go and look at my addresses to Parliament. There are a grand total of 12 documents. 12. President Koroma addressed Parliament 12 times in his capacity as the head of the nation. And in those 12 times, he gave comprehensive State of the Nation addresses. And the last two that closed, the one that closed the 2012 Parliament and the one that closed the 2017 Parliament, we refer to these as the valedictory addresses, they're quite comprehensive. So they're also alive. And we are going to add those to this handing over note, and we will discuss them for the next 5. It's a marathon. We are going to be on this. We are going to be regularly, and we'll be engaging our people also. We are going to be using the multimedia tools. We are going to be using social media.
And you're even going to use some of these statements to distract the current government so it does not succeed, and it making it easier for you to come back in power after 5 years. Yes?
No, we are coming back. Trust me.
By using some of these documents.
President Julius Maada Bio is going to hand over to an APC government. Trust me on that. There is no if, but, what on that. We have done our calculations.
In the next 5 years or maybe 10 years.
Or maybe even less. Because, you know, we have this case at the Supreme Court. And although it is, people, of course, say it never happens in Africa, the Supreme Court will never overturn elections. I think, for example, my case at the Supreme Court, it is so strong that there's a possibility for the elections to be overturned. So maybe even less than 5 years. But what I know and what I can assure our fellow APC supporters out there is just hold tight. President Julius Maada Bio is going to hand over to an APC-led government. When he hands over, it's not going to be to any other party but to the APC. This is a fact. We've done our calculations, we've done our mathematics. Count on me, trust me, the APC is coming back.
You did same calculations and mathematics in the just concluded elections, and it failed the APC woefully.
Well, I just told you that we are yet to receive our results. We are yet to see how the mathematics added up to give us what it gave us. But when you said I will want to take myself out, I came on board the APC campaign trail after
well, just
the
as a correction,
round.
the you wasn't even referring to Sylvia Blyden.
Okay,
it
okay,
was APC, especially so that you're cladded in APC at a time
very
like
proudly
this.
Too.
At
Very
a time like this, when people finding it difficult to associate themselves with the APC, what is your inspiration? Maybe on a soft note, that why would you still want to be this red at a time like this when people think red is blood, red is stained?
I come from a family where my two grandfathers, maternal and paternal, they played very pivotal roles in their own unique ways for the creation of the entity known as the All People's Congress. There was a political party I led as a young person. It was called the Young People's Party. But other than the Young People's Party, I have been affiliated with no other party in my life. None. People will say, oh, she used to help the SIPP. Yes, as a journalist, I wanted to sustain democracy. So whenever I saw like the SIPP seemed to be falling down or they seemed to be bullied, I would prop them up as a journalist to maintain democracy. But I was never a member of the SIPP. I am a proud member of the APC, and I grew up knowing why the APC is so important to be sustained. So when His Excellency President, former Excellency President Ernest Bai Koroma did the wonderful task of bringing our party back from wilderness, he inspired some of us. And his leadership, the huge successes he's been able to score, has inspired some of us. I am just the one here at the studio, but there are over 1 million Sierra Leoneans who are just like me. You'll be surprised. Very proud with their red. I travel all over the country. Just the last few weekends, I was in Cambia district, in Tonko Limba, in Kukuna, and I met our people. They are all proud in their red. People are there with their red.
Well, you would be right for the grassroots, but I would tell you as a journalist that it is hell right now to get executive members of the APC, leaders of the APC, to even come and represent their parties on programs.
Well,
so I was even shocked that I invited you and you immediately consented to come to the show. And I
came with my red.
With your red.
It will take some time. What has happened is it has been a shock.
Anyway, while you answer to that question, the number to call in is 025-271-959, and the time to call in is now. We are discussing the drama surrounding the handing over notes of President Ernest Bai Koroma because he did not deliver them at the inauguration of the current president of Sierra Leone, Julius Maada Bio, as to why he did not do that, as to the content of the handing over notes. And I have in the studios a former special executive assistant of President Ernest Bai Koroma, former. Dr. Blyden, now, what would you say are the most significant highlights of the handing over notes of the former president? Especially so some of you not get time for read.
Yeah, I know you have time to read. I guess you have not perhaps gone through all of them yet. It is difficult to summarize 10 years of success, 10 years of achievements, 10 years of overcoming challenges, 10 years of keeping a country united.
Okay, Doc, sorry. Let's take this first call. Good afternoon and welcome to This Day.
Yeah. Good afternoon.
Yes, where you're calling from, your name, and what do you have for us?
I'm calling from McKinney.
Okay, go ahead. You're live on This Day.
I want to thank Dr. Blyden in the studio.
Okay.
She's doing a very good job. Very, very proud of her. And then just as she's saying there, please tell Dr. Blyden that we are proud members of the APC. She is not alone. We are very much proud. And again, Mrs. Blyden or Ms. Blyden, please deliver this message to His Excellency, telling that I, as a supporter of the Almighty, is very, very proud of him.
Okay, so do you have anything really to say about the handing over notes of President Koroma?
And we are proud of our party, the Mighty. Thank you very much, Dr. Blyden, for representing us, and then continue to grow up. And we are asking if there are some chances you make some of these things.
All right, thank you so very much. We will rather for the callers to focus on the handing over note of President Ernest Bai Koroma, former, and the drama surrounding his failure to deliver a speech at the stadium. Good afternoon and welcome to This Day.
Yeah, I'm calling from McKinney.
Yes, your name and what do you have to say with regards to the handing over note of the President, former?
I'm calling from McKinney.
What's your name, please?
Hello?
We're having problems with that line.
We are here in McKinney.
We're having some difficulties with that caller. The number to call is 025-271-959, and the program you are listening to and watching is This Day.
Hello?
It's coming to you from AYV TV and AYV Radio.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Your name, where you're calling from, and what do you have?
I call from Leone.
Okay. So what you are saying about the president in handing over notes?
When Sylvia Blyden dey talk, I want just talk on. Like when he dey talk, no more. We self watch na television at AYV. We really know na provision. They don't make for the president for talk because they make provision and a gentleman. They don't do so great for this position. For the Hanover, Hanover peaceful. We please for that. It make we democracy in this country improve. Because he gets power through a democratic way and another democratic way.
Okay.
When these governments come, the kind of problem that happen in this country will not be glad in. Then threaten the life and property of people, you see. And then they allow the other former ministers for the don't hand over peacefully without other problems. The country for not improve more than that.
Okay.
So that transitional team where they research, we want to know the reports. And let them help with the government, the president, and report back where he don't let them able to circulate on the one whole country.
All right.
And when the president did hand over the staff, we see it beginning they talk, but no mic not be there for long years waiting they talk.
Okay.
So thank you, now that's our answer.
Thank you so very much. You are watching and listening to This Day, coming to you from the voice of the young generation, AYV Way Salon Sabi, on channel 33 and on FM 101.6. Good afternoon and welcome to This Day.
Hello?
Yes, good afternoon. You're live on This Day. We lost that caller. The numbers to call in are 025-271-959. Good afternoon and welcome to This Day.
Yes, good afternoon, KYD.
Yeah, what do you have to say about the drama surrounding the handing over notes?
Me and Christopher, the coach from Godrich.
Okay, go ahead.
Doctor, I know kind of we know we angle in the common, our speech in the common.
Okay.
And so we all know the situation at the country now. Okay. And nobody knows it for tell we all on there for the past 10 years His Excellency President Anezai Koroma don't lead. And so all within the talk, and just to make a note of political, nothing as something we most of we look up to.
Okay.
We want to see figures, things saying left because they are accusing government of so much wastage. Now that figure is some of we look up to.
Okay.
But let me see now in handover note. But we're not seeing anything like that.
Okay.
And so if Dr. Lane the media today and they talk as if we all know we're not being at the country and now they tell you what's happening.
All right.
I believe they're not being fair to me.
Okay,
because
thank
we all
you.
don't see how.
Thank you so very much. We shall be pausing the calls there as some significant points have been raised as I have been talking to Dr. Blyden on the highlights of the former president's handing over notes. Dr. Blyden, this last caller raised some significant points. He said almost all of what we're currently hearing emanating from the former president's speech is not what the Sierra Leoneans were looking forward to. The Sierra Leoneans were looking forward to figures. The SLPP is saying it will seem the APC government left behind really nothing. So what does President Ernest Bai Koroma, former, said with regards to figures as to how much is left in our consolidated fund?
Well, first of all, Mr. Christopher from Godrich, what thing come out very clearly is that you not read this report yet. Believe me, if you read this report, you not go talk with you just talk so. Because this report full of figures, full of statistics, full of facts. I'm very surprised for you to say the report's not get figures. It gets so much figures, so much numbers. For example, in terms of what we refer to as international reserves, it is right there, it put out waiting at the equivalent, it left 4 trillion leones, which is 4,000 billion leones, which is this one whole AYV. If you take money, 10,000, you pack, it's still the money, it go full up AYV almost 100 times.
But how come that international reserve is contradicting what the government put out?
Wait your land. So I keep myself now to waiting it say about waiting inside the statement. Right inside the statement again, it actually tell you how this country now gets a bigger economy. They give you figures. It tell you, say, the economy of Sierra Leone in 2007, that is, waiting at economy, waiting at the trading where they happen, buy and sell. The economy in Sierra Leone was a mere 500 billion leones, the entire economy in 2007. Today, the annual revenue, that's the money the government together, was just 500 billion leones. So they now have 4 trillion leones now together. Private investment money, the handing over statement they tell you say it grew from 288 billion no more in 2007, now 5,000 billion. So numbers, if now numbers they talk about, is in your expenditure on direct development project. This is all them projects them where we they do year in, year out. It then so now last year no more $274 million. So I don't know who's like Christopher read or wait till he look, but do I go advise him back? Go back now the handing over notes, read them, and then for strengthening yourself further, this government now the first government this from colonial days we pass law per itself. Nobody know first rule now which is so they pass the law. The law they call them Public Financial Management Act. We they publish to the last penny. Almost we spend, almost we raise, wait till we spend and pan, who that will pay salary to, who that will pay contract money to, all then at the Ministry of Finance website. So if you go to the Ministry of Finance website right now, you go find out, say, all statistics, numbers, everything where you can want is currently available. So this government has been...
But what does this government actually left behind? Because most of the figures you've highlighted is like revenue generated and how those monies were used, etc. So what actually did the government left behind in terms of physical cash? Was it captured on the handing over notes of the former president?
It is right here. International reserves grew from 600 billion leones to 4 trillion, which is 4,000 billion leones. So imagine 10 years
How come
ago.
that figure is kind of different from the figure released by the bank governor quite recently?
No, the bank governor released $507 million. You multiply $507 million by the current exchange rate, now 4 trillion leones, which is 4,000 billion leones.
How I wish I was so good at mathematics while I was going to school.
No, but further to that, you see, people keep on saying, almost money they left behind, almost money they left behind, almost money they left behind. I think people need to look at issues rather than for say almost money we left behind, but almost development we left behind. Because you don't get money in a bank, then people they need development. So I think what people should really be looking at is the infrastructural development. You're gonna, all the district headquarter towns, they're all paved, they're all tarred, all the roads them. Most of them get water supply.
There you go again, Dr. Blyden. Whenever President Koroma's legacy is mentioned, people tell us about roads.
No, water, I come up from roads, I go to water. Okay. I mean, they come up from water now, they go to electricity. Okay. And they come up from there, they go to health. It is all inside this document. The legacy is superb. It cuts across. I mentioned roads no more, because now road you they drive for going inside. But then when you go back again, forget water. Every single provincial headquarters gets running water, pipe-borne water. So many of Freetown's and 1.3 million people in India, outside of Freetown, additional 1.3 million people don't get pipe-borne water inside the last 10 years. In fact, the president even used the opportunity inside in handing over, the former president, for remind the current president say, when the president may create a ministry of water resources, the SLPP may condemn him. Say why you for go create, why because it was Ministry of Energy and Water. Why you for separate water? But the president may know the importance of clean drinking water, health, as well as for make sure say the society go well when you get clean drinking water. So he focused attention on that, and the results is amazing. You see inside the report, amazing results in the water sector. So me go on for tell family then say let them left for ask say almost money President Koroma left. We are a growing economy. We grow from middle income status. So not almost money we left. The money we left, I don't call them 4,000 billion leones. Also picking money down the full of one old AYV left over.
So what would you say are the highs and lows in the handing over notes of President Ernest Bai Koroma former?
The low, I think, na Ebola. Because you see the emotion inside. By the way, President Koroma himself writes this document. It took his time from where he left office, he writes him. Of course, he get a team of we assist him for just...
Because I was definitely going to say there is no way President Koroma will write a statement without the hand of Dr. Blyden. And I can be authoritative on that as a journalist and knowing how close you were and still are to the president.
Well, there's no way I would not assist him if he asks my advice. But the point that he says that the thoughts them were there inside here, these are his thoughts. These are his words. Like I tell you for free, I have nothing to do with Yahweh. He explains, say, it explains, say, he say it's difficult to explain how as president, how he made feel Ebola, where they watch in people then they die. So I think that would be the low, where they are say the lows. That definitely was a low for him. So you see Anaya, he said it is difficult to find the words to describe how I felt as president during the Ebola crisis. So you see the pain they come out of the report, where they talk how almost money we lost, how people them in they die, how the virus devastated, we're not able to shake we hand them. That is a low.
If Ebola affected him that much, people will be wondering how come he left the presidency without jailing people that misappropriated Ebola money.
Well, you see, I keep on telling you about this aspect of separation of powers, but somehow we not look the sink in. And not to just you and Sierra Leoneans, then Boko get that thing there. Not to president the jailer. You have separation of powers.
And when the buck stop at the president's table?
He is the regime, now in charge of the government. But not so in the jail. Not so in the jail people them. And quite a few people really have been jailed for Ebola. So you know me the follower. There are quite a lot of people. I know, for example, I think somebody in Bo will take Ebola funds, where them in Guam for some people that when I mean Ebola survivors that eat them, and the person was in the jail right now.
Those were the small fishes, the Mina. Like we're talking here about the political will of allowing the justice system to take its course on people that misappropriated Ebola monies when the president was actually dying within, seeing his people dying?
Who that's not the person where commission Ebola audit? That President Koroma. Even they inside this report. It's even in the report that he got commended by Transparency International. But that is the low point. Let's come to the high points. According to the president, he said for him, what he feels say now amongst him biggest legacy that we don't left for this country. He said yes, he don't left roads, he don't left good water supply, he don't left electricity, hospital they don't build them all over the country, including the new one where they just build like Kailaon. They don't do so much all over all sectors, the economy, the financial management, the blocking of funds, people in a thief, the Auditor General's office. He don't left so much legacy. He said, but for him, he said, I quote him because na President Madabio in the address. So he said, Your Excellency, I consider one of my greatest legacies as president to be the creation of 2 new administrative districts and the de-amalgamation, separation of all those super large chiefdoms which were formed by forcefully combining chiefdoms during colonial days. For President Koroma, I think he hides that the fact that the northern province, with people in the northern province, they suffer too much since colonial days. You go get big chiefdom. He give the example of Leone, where then they treat it like for saying one administrative unit. So you go walk at 30 miles inside Leone, you not see one school. Because they consider it as one administrative unit. So President see that problem there, and he come in like the great Bible of the northern province. He come in, and even after the Ebola, Mindon, and Bogwi, he said, I'm not going left if I not solve this problem in the northern province. So that is one of his highs. He's very proud of himself that he be able to divide the country so that the people that have social services they now, like in Leone now, then divide them into several chiefdoms. Okay. So now then they say every chiefdom forget one school. Leone, who's time been Leone before, go get several schools.
As we run out of time so fast, 2 main final questions for you. With regards to delivery of presidential handing over notes verbally, what would you prefer to see in the future? Would you prefer to see the continuation of what happened to Pakaba and now what has happened to Ernest Bai Koroma without having the opportunity to read out their handing over notes? Or you would rather see the future having even laws that will get the president outgoing to deliver a handing over note?
You cannot force somebody really. You know talk about law. Say if somebody no want to give handing over note, you not go force them. So there is no way you can pass a law. It's almost be like a human rights abuse for say, oh, by force you forgive handing over notes.
Or it should be obligatory.
No. What I'm saying, you cannot force. You see, there are certain things in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. There are certain rights abuses that you cannot go beyond. So you know, force somebody, say by force you for do handing over notes. The person would not want to. But one thing I can assure His Excellency President Julius Maada Bio is that when they hand over to the APC, we go allow him for talk. That assurance I can give to him. We would allow him to speak as long as he wants to speak when he's handing over to the All People's Congress.
Why are you that sure? Will you be chairman and leader of the APC by then?
No, it's a decision the party has already taken. That you see, our party, what happened with President Kaba was an unfortunate situation where his speech been very, very long initially, so we didn't stop him. But in the case of President Koroma, it not been for be this long. But what can end up happening is that this end up being a blessing in disguise because he was stopped, so he end up for able to make a comprehensive handing over now. But we can assure President Julius Maada Bio that when they hand over to we, and we go allow him, he go talk.
A little bit away from this conversation, as someone close to President Ernest Bai Koroma, former, when is he going to hand over the mantle of chairman and leader? Because he promised on the day of polling that very soon he's going to give up his position as chairman and leader, maybe.
Definitely. At the next convention, he's definitely going to step down. That I can say it for free. He's already made that known, that he's going to step down. I believe there were some thoughts at some point in time that maybe he could just step down and hand over to the secretariat. But
Okay.
then people realized that no, he's needed until the next convention. But he's definitely going
So
to.
final question. Who are you really? Because this Sylvia Blyden seated here in the studio, sort of defending the legacy of President Ernest Bai Koroma.
It's a wonderful legacy. Don't
Was
you,
the
don't you
same
think
Sylvia
so?
Blyden that was chased from government by the same President Koroma. So who are you?
You see, in politics, there are ups and downs. I mentioned my grandfather as one of the stalwarts who made the APC come to power in 1967. I can say it easily that without him, there's no way the APC would have won those 1967 elections. But he was sacked by former President Shaka Stevens. And then after a while, former President Shaka Stevens realized and he brought him back. So in politics, these things happen. One thing I can tell you is that if I had not been sacked, it would not have been easy for the APC to lose. So in politics, calculations were done by certain people who wanted the APC to lose. And so they played certain moves, certain games, and got the president to do what he did. But I was able to compartmentalize, and I can look at the bigger picture. And for me, the bigger picture, in the interest of the All People's Congress, in the interest of Sierra Leone, is what I look at. Not my own petty, well, if I mean sack me, so I vex. No. I look at the bigger picture. What is good for APC is what I'm looking at. What is good for Sierra Leone is what I always look at.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Blyden, for gracing my invitation to be on this day.
It has been a pleasure. And before I leave, can I hand over to you an autographed
copy?
copy?
Me that there is an autograph copy
Yes.
for me from former President Ernest Bai Koroma.
He asked me to hand over it to you, Mr. Abdul Fonti.
How I wish there were cameras like pa. So Mr. Gogoblov, say former President.
Yes,
give me
and
autograph.
he autographed it with your name right
Yes,
there. If you open
right
it, you can
there,
see it there.
right there.
So Abdul Fonti from Dr. Ernest Bai Koroma. Thank you.
Thank you very much, former President Ernest Bai Koroma. I received the copy you sent for me, and I will study it religiously and do justice to it. That is how we shall be ending today's edition of your Current Affairs show this day. Until we meet again tomorrow for another edition, Abdul Fonti is my name.